World War I did not begin with a bullet. It began with fear, ambition, pride, and silence. For years before 1914, Europe appeared calm, advanced, and civilized. Cities were growing, technology was advancing, and people believed modern nations were too intelligent to destroy themselves. But beneath this calm surface, tension was building. Old empires were weakening. New powers were rising. Every nation watched its neighbors with suspicion. Europe was not truly at peace. It was waiting. The first major cause of World War I was militarism. Powerful nations believed that military strength was the key to survival. Armies grew larger. Weapons became deadlier. Warships dominated the seas. Germany and Britain raced to build massive navies. France and Russia expanded their armies through conscription. Military leaders gained influence over governments, and war plans were prepared years in advance. These plans were rigid and unstoppable. Once mobilization began, there was no turning back. War was no longer a possibility. It was an expectation. Closely connected to militarism was the system of alliances. Nations believed alliances would protect them, but instead they created a dangerous chain reaction. Europe split into two powerful groups. On one side were Britain, France, and Russia. On the other were Germany and Austria-Hungary. Each nation promised to defend the others without question. This meant a conflict between two countries could instantly involve many more. What should have remained a small regional dispute became a global threat. Alliances turned local problems into international disasters. Another deep cause of the war was imperialism. European nations competed fiercely for colonies and resources across Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. Empires were symbols of power and pride. Britain and France controlled vast territories. Germany, a newer power, felt left behind and humiliated. Colonial disputes increased tension and distrust. Even when Europe was not fighting at home, it was battling for influence abroad. The world itself became a stage for rivalry, and resentment continued to grow. Nationalism added fuel to this growing fire. Love for one's nation turned into belief in superiority and hatred of others. In France, people dreamed of revenge for past defeats. In Germany, nationalism inspired confidence and aggression. In Eastern Europe, nationalism was even more dangerous. Many ethnic groups living under large empires wanted independence. Nowhere was this more explosive than in the Balkans. Serbia hoped to unite Slavic peoples. Austria-Hungary feared losing control of its territory. The Balkans became known as the most unstable region in Europe, a place where one small spark could ignite a massive explosion. That spark came in the summer of 1914. On June 28th, Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary visited the city of Sarajevo. A group of young nationalist assassins waited for him. After a failed attempt earlier that day, a young man named Gavrilo Princip stepped forward and fired 2 shots. The Archduke and his wife were killed. The world was shocked, but the danger had already been prepared. Austria-Hungary blamed Serbia and issued a harsh ultimatum. Serbia accepted most demands, but refused complete submission. Austria-Hungary declared war. What followed was rapid and unstoppable. Germany supported Austria-Hungary. Russia mobilized to defend Serbia. France supported Russia. Germany invaded Belgium to attack France. Britain entered the war to defend Belgium. Within weeks, Europe was engulfed in conflict. What began as a regional crisis became a world war. Leaders failed to stop the war because pride, fear, and military plans controlled their decisions. No nation wanted to appear weak. No leader wanted to retreat. Diplomacy collapsed under pressure, and the machinery of war moved forward without mercy. World War I was not an accident. It was the result of militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism combining over many years. The assassination in Sarajevo was only the final trigger. When the war ended, millions were dead, empires were destroyed, and the world was forever changed. And the peace that followed would quietly prepare the ground for an even greater conflict yet to come. If this video helped you understand history deeply, press like, subscribe, and comment below. Which cause do you think was the most dangerous? Because history is not just a story, it is a warning.